Hey, this is Scott from the X-Fed Homestead. I'm just taking a minute here to sit down and relax, kind of survey the space, look at the garden from a distance, and enjoy myself, because what else is gardening for? This chair here is a rocking chair that I like to sit on and take a few moments and kind of survey the kingdom, as it were, and kind of think about jobs that need to be done as I go through my day. And I'll make a list and try to knock off a few of those things on the list every day. I'm sitting right next to what I call the shade garden. I haven't given a garden tour yet, so maybe that's in order. Well, let's start our tour with a look at the orchard. Right here, I have my apple trees. I have 6 apple trees. You can see right here, this is a Granny Smith, or excuse me, this is a Honeycrisp apple tree. I have 3 of these, and I have 3 Macintosh trees. They're all fairly young, 2 years old since I've had them. I've had apple trees over the years. This one's getting some nice growth on it. It was pretty crooked, and I used that 1x to straighten it out and train it a little bit. I've got some pruning to do. I usually don't do a lot of summer pruning, but I've got a few branches I've got to take out, a few suckers I've got to take out to help the overall health of the trees. So here's another example. I have some mulch down at the bottom, and I've got 6 overall. Well, here's the main garden area. This is the first area that I planted when I was new here at the house about 15 years ago. You can see the raspberries. This is a whole new crop of raspberries. I planted those last year. I ripped out all my prior raspberries. I had a worm problem with them, and I don't use pesticides, so I started fresh all over again. And the raspberry plants were like 15 years old or so, and I decided to go with some new ones. These are Himbo Top raspberries, and they suffered in the drought last year, so I lost a lot of them, and I replanted these this year. So you can see they're just starting, but already there are a couple raspberries on there getting ready to go. They'll be later in the season. So down here I have my blueberries, and you'll notice I have wiring. You can see here, I have wiring that I've had up there for many years. So I still have yet to put out the blueberry net, and that netting goes over this whole area, which is about 75 feet by 40 feet, and it'll cover the whole area. But this year, I'm just going to cover the blueberries. I'm going to change my netting strategy because I don't really think I need them for the raspberries. The birds don't pick at them as much, and the strawberries they don't, but they go after the blueberries. Continuing the garden tour, you can see at the end of my garden I have about 10 feet of flowers. And I was never really a flower guy, but I like the bees that they bring, the beneficial insects, and they do look great. This is a brand new hollyhock that I just grew this year. I had some problems with them last year, but I've had hollyhocks for years, and I actually brought some from New York with me, or from New Jersey. I got them in New York, then I moved to Jersey. Now I have them here in Massachusetts. So I plant flowers, a bunch of different kinds of flowers and perennials, although those are zinnias right here, which are annuals, and they'll reseed themselves, hopefully, for next year. But I put them at the end of the gardens to attract bees. And you can see here I have okra, which my wife absolutely adores. So the okra is doing pretty well. It got a slow start. There wasn't a lot of sun in June, and so the okra didn't really take off, but it's really taken off with a few sunny days. Beyond that, I have my cucumbers trellised up on string, and I'll do a separate video on how I do that. But also I have carrots here in the bed that have been devastated by rabbits. And you'll hear me say devastated by rabbits a lot. They also got the fennel. This is the first year I've grown fennel, and you can see the stalks are pretty thick, but the fennel, the leaves are practically gone. Here's my best example right there of fennel, and Here's my zucchini. I only plant a couple zucchini plants because that's more than enough now that there are just two of us at home. And there's Owl Capone. He's supposed to be helping me with my rabbit problem, but the jury is still out on that. Al Capone was one of the original gangsters, and I think Owl Capone here looks pretty gangster myself. Now, in the middle of the garden, you'll see a bit of a mess, and that cardboard and wood is all part of a project where I'm trying to make a path through the center. These rows were all continuous. They would continue across, so they were over 55 foot rows, but I decided to put a path down the center for easier access for myself to do work and also for my wife to pick vegetables, as that was something she complained about and something I wanted to fix. This row here are all volunteer potatoes from last year. I couldn't believe how many came up. And I poked some onions in there, and here are some more carrots, which look a little better than the carrots over on the other side. And these ones are finally, after being devastated by rabbits, are starting to get a little bit of traction. After the carrot row here, I have potatoes, two rows, a row of Russian fingerlings and a row of Yukon Gold potatoes. Now, I used seed potatoes from last year, and I just kind of forgot that they were in the basement. And when I went down there, I saw a milk crate absolutely chock-a-block full of roots growing up, and sprouts, I should say. And I decided, hey, I'll plant all of these, and they are looking good. In fact, I probably got to do some work over here because I can see one poking out right on the ground there. I can see him. There he is. I can see one poking out right there. I gotta cover him. I don't want him to get green. So I'm gonna have to go through and add some more soil and some more grass so the sun doesn't get at those potatoes and turn them green. But they were really defined rows a few weeks ago, but with all the rain pelting down, it kind of pushed the plants down a little bit. And they're starting to yellow just a little bit, so I know that harvest time is coming. Over here at the very end of the row, where I would usually have flowers, I have my asparagus. And you can see here, I just picked some yesterday, so I kind of wiped the whole place out. But a lot of people don't know that asparagus grows from the ground like this. And you can see it. I weeded it and put some grass out there so that it browns up, and I can easily see my asparagus when it's ready to pick. And I like to pick them just a little bit bigger than this. Now, these asparagus are a little thicker, but all my friends, I give a lot of vegetables away. They all say how tender they are when they cook them up. So, and we've had plenty of asparagus. And thankfully, about the time you get sick of asparagus is about the time that you can let it go, and it grows 6-7 feet high and forms a fern. And you can almost see there's a very skinny asparagus right there that is starting to fern out, and they're absolutely beautiful ferns. So that's something to look forward to in the fall. And they die away after giving energy to the roots for next year. Well, next to the flowers, I have a second area where I let the squashes run wild. And this is Waltham butternut squash. See right there in my shadow, a couple nice examples. There's another one. So I really like this squash. My wife makes a fantastic soup. And so I really enjoy butternut squash soup. You can see some bunching onions right there. I just got those as kind of a lark. And you can see them down in there next to the potatoes. And here's what's left of some kale. The top is down, and what's left of some broccoli, or excuse me, those are Brussels sprouts, but the rabbits had their way with that. And I already got these squashes. This red Excuse me, squash. I already got these cabbages over here. And now I have onions. So I have got a bunch of onions, about 200 there in that bed. They've been doing great all along. Over here, I have all my early season vegetables, which I planted and put some row covers over. Some of them have gone south in the meantime. I've got some great kale, some great Brussels sprouts going. The cabbages have been amazing in here, but as I've said before, the rabbits devastated my broccoli. Had I been realized it, they were getting in through a hole and just eating unfettered, because I couldn't see them under the row covers, and they just absolutely destroyed the broccoli. There you can see there's nothing there now. On the other side of the garden, I have rows of spinach, and once again, my lettuce was devastated by rabbits. You can see I just got a little trying to get through there, along with another healthy row of new carrots and a healthy row of beets right below my tripod there. And then some great pumpkins and some spaghetti squash. Over here I have bush beans, but guess what? Oh, the bush beans were devastated by rabbits. Yeah, I should really fence them off. I fenced off the sweet potatoes. And the truth is, I don't mind the rabbits eating some things, but when they start crushing some of these vegetables, it's then when I gotta get serious. Part of that seriousness was me obtaining Owl Capone over there, hoping that that would work, but again, the jury's still out. I have some zinnias I planted here because I have some extra space, as well as nasturtium plants, which after the day I planted them, the rabbits got to, but they started coming back. So with the rain tonight, they'll be just fine. The sweet potatoes had a pretty slow start, but they're doing all right now. And past the nasturtiums are some more romaine lettuce, as well as some spinach. And this spinach has a little heat stroke. We haven't been out here to pick it, so it's getting a little brown. Really needs some water and really needs to be picked. But the beet greens are looking great, which are next to them, as well as the tomatoes. Now I'm going to do some work on these tomato rows soon, and they got away from me a little bit, but not so bad this year. At least they're not all over the ground. But you can see, I think those are some celebrity tomatoes, and those are going to be just fine. I got to clear away some of the leaves to allow the sun to get at them. And I did do a little pruning on the tomato trellis here. Excuse me, I did do a little pruning on the cucumber trellis here. And that it leads me back to the beginning here, where the okra was. So let me go down here just a little bit further. You can see the blueberries that are going. Those look fantastic. And let me tell you, I can't walk by without taking a few blueberries. And we let the little girl at the neighbor's house, she's about 3 years old, and I said, why don't you go check out the new chickens over in the back of the house when we're gone, and pick some blueberries if you want. And I'll tell you, this little bush right here was just about out of blueberries. So got to be careful what you offer there. But around here in New England, people love their blueberries. And these are Chandler blueberries. So if you can see these get about the size of a quarter. They're not as sweet, but boy, 6 or 8 of these in your mouth, it is a mouthful. Fantastic. Now, the strawberry rows that I have here, I have 2 rows of strawberries I've gotten a few good strawberries out of here, but not many. I think one of the issues was that I almost stopped growing strawberries because I couldn't stand the weeding that I had to do in order to maintain it. So underneath this grass, I have black landscaper fabric. You can see there, that black fabric, which allows water and air to get through. So that keeps down the weeds, and it's been working great. I've taken a blowtorch, I've put some holes in there, planted these plants last year. Again, the drought had an effect on a bunch of them, but I planted some new ones. The only strawberries I could find at the time when I decided to plant some new ones were alpine strawberries. And alpine strawberries are very, very small. They're more of an ornamental plant. You can see, here's an alpine strawberry. That thing's tiny. So you can see my thumbnail and see that. It's tiny. But about 1,000 of them will make a good mouthful. These plants are doing pretty well. They've gotten large, and with all the water we've been getting, they're doing about as well as I can hope. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's the garden tour, and I hope you enjoyed it. Every year I try to add new vegetables. Every year I try to conduct something new, try a new experiment, and the more success I have, the more success I have. I appreciate any comments you want to leave, and any tips you can give me, that'd be great. I'm always willing to learn. This is Scott from the X-Fed Homestead. Have a great day.